thanking you for your service. We think your 5 weeks and your attention to this matter has been exemplary. And certainly in the course of this penalty phase, we're not disputing your verdict at this time. We respect it and we're moving on. Um, this is my opportunity, as well as the other attorneys, to show you reasons why a life recommendation is appropriate in this case, specifically to my client, Rashawn Murphy. During jury selection, which seems like a long time ago, and it's the reason that you're here on this jury panel, is that you all committed to keeping an open mind if the verdict of guilty was, in fact, a verdict as charged of first-degree murder. And of course, here we are. As you've been reminded and will be reminded, I'm sure, a lot more during the course of this week, your recommendation carries great weight. As I think I indicated during jury selection, it's a term that kind of bothers me because it suggests that you're simply making a recommendation and then it becomes somebody else's decision. And the truth is that legally, your vote is something that does carry great weight, and the court has to give it great attention. And it's not often when a court disagrees and rules differently. As you know, aggravating factors have to be proven by the same standard that we had during first phase, proven beyond a reasonable doubt, and at least one aggravating factor is required. On the other hand, mitigating circumstances can be proven by the greater weight of the evidence. We talked about it in jury selection, that it basically is just tipping the scales. If you believe that more likely than not, some mitigating circumstances presented to you, that's enough for you to consider it as a mitigating circumstances and compare it to whatever else is presented in the form of mitigation as well as aggravation. And as you've been told, it is a weighing process, but ultimately you decide what you personally believe is the appropriate vote or decision. And I believe the evidence will show that the appropriate vote is a vote for life without the possibility of parole. And I want to emphasize that when I say life without the possibility of parole, that means that my client, Mr. Murphy, will die in prison. It's just a matter of whether or not there's no chance of early release or anything of that nature. It's life without the possibility of parole. Now, with respect to Mr. Murphy, my client, there will be basically two parts to the presentation. You will hear from witnesses, family members, or friends that who know the defendant well and can provide information about the defendant's background, childhood, the environment, the neighborhood, and the community that he grew up in. But you will also hear testimony, probably Wednesday, it's my best guess, from a mental health expert, Dr. Michael Collins, who is a forensic neuropsychologist. He did a full psychological of Mr. Murphy while at the jail before, obviously, the trial began. He reviewed multiple reports and interviewed the defendant, spent hours with the defendant, gaining extensive information about the defendant as a person and his history. And of course, he conducted a series of psychological tests, allowing him to furnish a comprehensive analysis of the defendant's mental condition and how it relates to the penalty phase, how it relates to the vote that you're going to be asked to provide. There's much more detail to follow, but basically the diagnosis in a nutshell is post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. It's a mental health condition triggered by experiencing or witnessing terrifying events, causing symptoms like flashbacks, nightmares, severe anxiety, and uncontrollable thoughts about the trauma. It disrupts daily life, making work, relationships, and sleep difficult. Treatment includes psychotherapy and medication. You will see that Rashad Murphy had an extremely difficult childhood, growing up in a crime-ridden, violent environment. He experienced or witnessed overwhelming, life-threatening, or traumatic events, all causes of post-traumatic stress disorder. The following mitigating circumstances that the defense intends to prove by the greater weight of the evidence is as follows. Number one, the defendant was only 30 years old when the homicide occurred. Number two, the capital felony was committed while the defendant was under the influence of extreme mental or emotional disturbance. Number three, the capacity of the defendant to appreciate the criminality of his conduct or to conform his conduct to the requirements of law was substantially impaired. Number four, the defendant has a history of physical, sexual, or emotional abuse as a child consistent with childhood post-traumatic stress disorder. Number five, the defendant has maintained a loving relationship with family and friends.
Why are these auto insurance ads lying to you? I'm a car insurance agent.
I don't know, but I tell you what, this shit ain't gonna work out.
Behavior and the ability to follow rules while incarcerated. In fact, you'll see that he in fact received his GED while incarcerated and took 15 hours of parenting classes. Number seven, the defendant has developed religious and spiritual awareness while incarcerated. Number eight, the defendant helped raise his younger siblings, working jobs, including working jobs at a young age to provide financial support. Number nine, the defendant loves his children and has been a very good father to them. Number 10, the defendant, as a minor, was removed from his primary home and placed into foster care due to negligent and abusive situations in the primary home. And then finally, number 11, defendant has no prior felony convictions.
Florida don't give a fuck.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, I saved number 11 for last on purpose because I believe the evidence is going to show that despite the terrible environment that the defendant grew up in, despite these scars, despite the mental issues he lives with on a daily basis,
they don't care.
Murphy has no prior felony convictions. He was 30 years old at the time of the offense, and he has no prior felony convictions. Not one. Not one.
Well, the one he got fucked him.
Before you vote, I will ask you to compare that fact, not disputed by the state, that the defendant has no prior felony convictions. I will ask you to compare that to a career offender. I will ask you to compare that fact to someone who has a prior record of similar crimes or violent behavior. I will ask you to compare that fact to the state's argument that the attempted murders serve as an aggravating factor despite being one incident. They were all one incident. It was all one contemporaneous event.
Young and Ace, they coming for you.
I would ask you to compare that fact to the state's argument
that
an aggravating factor is that the defendant was a criminal gang member.
You don't want no wall.
Proposed aggravating factor by the state, compare it to the fact that the defendant has no.
What's the legal basis? Overall, go ahead.
I would thank you, Ron. I would ask you just simply to make that comparison.
That the little boy killed Julio and cried like a bitch in court. Should have left Julio alone. They should have took the plea deal. No way they
I
got they
believe,
beating the
ladies and
body.
gentlemen,
They
that the
stupid
mitigating
asses all on
circumstances will
camera. Yep.
outweigh any aggravating factors
Yep.
that might be presented by the state. But in any event, I believe that the mitigating circumstances will show that a life recommendation is warranted.
Not gonna happen. Y'all niggas finna die. You don't want no one. Huh. I told my little nigga step hard around this bitch. You don't want no one. Yeah, alright, nigga. Yeah, alright, nigga. Sing that shit now. Sing that shit now, Young and Ace. You don't want no one. Yeah, alright, nigga. Sing now, nigga. Sing now, nigga.
First, I want to thank you for your attention and your thoughtful, thorough consideration in the case so far. We all understand the significance of what you have done and what we're asking you to do. I ask that you continue to listen intently and give this second phase of the trial the same attention that you did the first. We saw you taking notes, listening. We know it's been a long several weeks. Nothing in this phase is intended to diminish the seriousness of the charge or what happened in this case. The pain caused, the value of the life lost. Mitigation and mitigating factors are not an excuse. They're an explanation. They tell a story. This is the part of the trial about Sean Gathright, about the person. And this is not about asking if Mr. Gathright is guilty or not guilty. You have already found that with your verdict, and we respect your verdict. This phase asks a different question. And it's not even whether or not Mr. Gathright should be held accountable. He will be. The question now is, should this very young man be permanently sentenced to death? Or does he have a life worth saving?
Nope. Not in Florida.
During this phase, you're going to hear about who Mr. Gathright was before the
They don't care who he was.
In this trial. You're going to hear about a childhood that was marked with some instability due to being in a military family, repeated separations from his parents, some abuse by his father, loss, absence of steady guidance during some of his most formative years.
That's so sad.
You're going to hear that Mr. Gathright was barely 18 years old at the time of his crime.
Touch my heart.
At an age where society, common sense, and the law itself recognize that judgment, impulse control, and decision making.
Hold up 1 second, y'all. Let me get my tissue because this bitch is making me cry.
Still developing. He's still maturing. As he sits here today, he's only 20 years old. The evidence is going to show you that Sean Gathright is not a man beyond hope.
Sean Gathright is going to prison.
Redemption.
If not to death.
A very young human being, still capable of growth, maturity, accountability, remorse, and change. You're going to hear some other really important things, and you're going to hear from people that know him best. You're going to hear from several of Mr. Gathwright's family, friend, guidance counselor, and they're going to tell you about a loving, respectful, nonviolent young man that they knew. A smart student, a good student, who loved his family, was a good uncle, helped others, did mission trips, fed the homeless,
Get the fuck.
worked hard,
Word.
built a business,
No.
and showed great potential for a
All
meaningful
right.
future. You're also going to hear from an expert who's going to tell you that even in prison, Mr. Gathright can live a constructive life where he can continue to mature and positively affect others, including his family and friends who he maintains a relationship with.
Yeah, right.
But also other inmates. And he can be held accountable without ending his life. At the end of this phase, I will get back up here and I'm going to ask you to consider all of the circumstances that will be presented in that evidence. And I'll give you a long list of things that I think have been shown at that time. I'm going to ask you to not define Mr. Gathright solely by the worst thing that he's done at 18 years old, but to recognize that he still has meaning. His life still has value. Death is never required.
Yeah, right.
And Sean Gathright has a life worth saving. Thank you.
Not in Florida.
All right, Ms. Jimmy, do you wish to make an opening statement at this time?
No.
Good afternoon, everyone. I just want to start off by thanking you for the time that you have taken away from your family, your friends, your job, and sacrifice what you sacrificed in order to do this for all of us.
Just got a new merch order in, and I want to show you guys how the
I'm sorry, yeah, but ain't nothing they saying finna work in this motherfucking court. These niggas going down.
Do what happened. No verdict, no sentence, no punishment will bring Charles Jones back.
Nope.
His family, his friends, are experiencing and did experience real pain. We acknowledge that and we fully accept and respect your verdict of guilt.
So kill him. The fuck is you talking about if you
By
respect
virtue
it?
of your verdict, Davion Murphy's fate has been sealed.
This fat nigga do not deserve to come home.
State prison.
This fat nigga still up here smirking and smiling while they tell him he finna die.
That's a fact. He's going to die one way or another. The only question that remains that you have to answer in this phase and the second phase is whether Davion Murphy dies when a higher power says so, or when the state of Florida decides that it should be done. It's the only question left. As I said, his fate has been sealed. He will live every minute of every day, of every month, of every year, incarcerated in prison.
Nah. That ain't how it go. Eye for an eye.
There's no parole in the state of Florida.
Eye for an eye.
There's no game time.
Nope. He don't care.
And Mr. Davion Murphy's life is worth saving. An individual should not be judged by one tragic, terrific event.
Yes,
You have to consider the whole person.
Him gotta go.
And
Him
that's
gotta
what
go.
litigation is. I expect that you're going to hear testimony from several doctors. You're going to hear from Dr. Eisenstein. He's a neuropsychologist. And he's going to tell you about Davion's childhood, his intellectual struggles in school, how he has a very low IQ. One of the most defining things in Davion Murphy's life was when Davion Murphy was just a mere 12 years old. And his father got arrested and charged with murder. His father and his uncle were charged with the same murder. And as you all sit here, as we all sit here, as Davion Murphy sits here, his father is doing life in prison. That happened when he was 12. And his uncle
is also incarcerated. As you know, as you've heard in the first phase of this trial, Mr. Murphy grew up in Jacksonville. And at a young age, 12, 13, 14, 15, violence and death were the norm in those communities, in that community that he lived in. It became normalized. I also believe that you will hear from Dr. Eisenstein and tell you that he grew up without a father figure, obviously, no stable environment, no financial stability whatsoever in his life. You're also going to hear that Davion himself was shot, that he's had multiple close family members that have been shot and killed, close friends shot and killed at a very young age.
G-Boy, what up?
To Davion, death and
My
violence
brother.
are normalized. You're also going to hear from Dr. Rubino, and he's a neurologist. We had some PET scans and MRI scans done of Davion Murphy's brain. And he's going to testify that Davion Murphy has brain injuries, global brain injuries, from multiple vehicle accidents, fights, other head trauma that he experienced from a young age and into his young adult age. And he's going to tell you that those brain injuries, and you'll see slides, Dr. Rubino will tell you what those slides mean, but that those brain injuries cause him to have lack of judgment, lack of ability to stabilize his emotions, his inability to think about the consequences
G-Boy, how's it going?
ahead of time. And he's a follower, not a leader. The first phase, you would decide whether or not Mr. Davion Murphy was guilty or not guilty. He had the right, just as we all do, to defend himself. And as I said, we fully respect and accept your verdict. But during this phase, I'm going to ask you to consider all the mitigation that we present on his behalf. And consider him as a whole person. Who he is today, how he got here today, why is he sitting in this courtroom here today? Well, there's a reason. And I believe the mitigation that we present will give you that reason. And you should know that this is not a numbers game of how many aggravators the state has listed or how many that they've even proven or have proven or they've proven them all. Mitigation is individual to you, to each defendant, but individually a moral vote, the judgment that each one of you alone get to make. You guys will discuss the evidence, the mitigators, and things of that nature, but it's each of you has your own vote. I hope at the end of the presentation of the defense mitigation for Davion Murphy, gives him the just punishment.
Death, 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 death.
Without the possibility. Because the aggravating factors are just, they're there. It's not going to outweigh the mitigation that we present. So at the end, I'll stand up here one last time and ask that you vote for life. Thank you.
All right, very good. And at this time, Mr. Petrides, you reserve until the presentation of your evidence, correct? Okay, very good. Okay, State, call your first witness.
Your Honor, the state of Florida would ask 50% evidence.
Okay, very good. Yeah, come on.
So they took a small break, y'all. I'll come back with the other half. Stay tuned, stay focused. They try to get these boys out the death penalty right now. Without a joke. Try to get their ass the death penalty. So now all that cool shit that they was out there doing and thought they was being cool, they see not cool at all. These people do not give a fuck about.
Just please repeat again. What is
These people do not care about these young boys' lives. They not feeling sorry for them. I could almost see them giving them life in prison. Some of them probably get the death penalty.
the objection to the letter? Yeah, I don't see that either. Okay, the next sentence reads, his loved ones continue to warn him while trying to process the loss that happened so suddenly and violently. So what's the objection to the term violently? Okay, it was violent, wasn't it? Mr. Harmon, what's your response?
Judge, I think there's overwhelming evidence in front of this jury that this was a very violent.
The H-series DMR radios are the
Sheesh. Hold up.
Trying to frame the loss to the family and explain it to the jury. She's not commenting on the sentence or what the potential sentence should be or casting aspersions towards any of the defendants.
Yeah, I'll approve the objection, that's fine. Okay. Anything else regarding this letter before I bring the jury back?
Not the letter, the email that said that there may be some photos, so I didn't know if there was something that we were.
Yeah, there's not.
Alright, and are you gonna explain to the jury who this someone's reading?
I
this
am.
on behalf of?
What I plan on doing is having him introduce himself where he works, and he is going to be reading the victim impact statement of the victim's mother, Sandra Space.
And does he need to be sworn in?
I can't hurt, I guess.
Okay, very good.
And Judge, is there some cautionary instruction?
That's a good question. Let me take a look.
It's in the final instructions. I don't think it's
Yeah, let me pull it up.
okay.
Yeah, there is an instruction if requested, so I assume it's being requested. It is as follows. You will hear evidence about the impact of this murder on the family of Charles Jones. This evidence is presented to show the victim's uniqueness as an individual and the resultant loss by the victim's death. However, you may not consider this evidence as an aggravating factor. And I did give that same instruction in the initial instructions, but I can give it again. Or any of the, do you want me to give the instruction again before this witness testifies again regarding victim impact evidence? I read the introduction. I mean, there's no harm. I can do it again. Okay, I will. Okay. All right. We ready to go? Okay. Ready? Okay.
Right now they're adjourning. All rise. The boys ain't never seen the light of day again. If that's what they thought, welcome to, well, shit, they from Florida. They know better. Them niggas from Florida. You know better. You knew what you was doing when you did it, and you knew what the consequences was. So I'm not sure if any of them stand up and like, oh man, I should have did it. You knew. I don't know what the fuck they doing. I guess they're adjourning right now. The judge will be back. They about to smoke these boys, man. Sad day in Florida. Y'all lights gonna be dimming down that motherfucker soon. Y'all know the routine. Get them motherfucking generators out that day. And the fat dude still laughing like ain't nothing going on. Gaff right like he wanna cry. Come on. They're about to give these boys life in prison. Some of them they probably gonna get the death penalty. A couple of them probably gonna fry. Somebody dying, man. The same way they kill Julio Foolio, man. Somebody finna die, boy. Believe this shit. If it never made sense before.
All right.
Here we go. This is where the fun begins. And the nigga still live from the fat one.
Okay, very good. Everybody have a seat. Open back. All right, again, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you are going to hear evidence about the impact of this murder on the family of Charles Jones.
Excuse me? You're reading wrong.
Hey y'all, listen to what I'm telling you. Somebody finna get the death penalty. Watch what I'm telling you.
It's as an aggravating factor. And state, sir, could you please raise your right hand? Madam Clerk. Do you solemnly swear?
Hey guys, that pig's scary and freaky at the same damn time.
You may proceed, Mr. Harmon.
Yep.
I am. I'm a victim
Those are
advocate with
facts.
the program for state training.
Those are facts. Say bye to them guys. Wooski, they coming for you next.
Presenting the victim impact statement of Sandrika Mays, the mother of Charles Jones.
I have.
And do you have it in front of you?
I do.
Are you prepared to go ahead and present it and read it?
Yes, I am.
Please do so.
Yes. My name is Sandrika Mays, and I am the mother of Charles Jones. No parent is ever prepared for the pain of losing a child. The loss of my son has completely changed my life and the lives of everyone who loved him. Charles was more than what people saw online or heard in his music. To me, he was my son, a human being with a heart, dreams, flaws, and people who loved him deeply. He was a brother, a friend, an artist, and someone who still has so much life ahead of him. Despite the challenges he faced, he continued to work hard, provide for those around him, and pursue his passion for music. Since his passing, there has been an emptiness in my life that words cannot fully explain. I struggle emotionally every single day. Birthdays, holidays, and family gatherings, and even ordinary moments now carry pain because Charles is no longer here. I constantly think about what his future could have been and the memories we were robbed of making together. The emotional trauma from this loss has affected my mental, emotional, and physical well-being. Grief is something that I carry daily. No mother should have to bury her child. The pain does not end after the funeral. It follows you every morning and every night. Our family has also suffered tremendously. His loved ones continue to mourn him while trying to process a loss that happened so suddenly and violently. His death has left emotional scars that will never fully heal. Charles' death occurred 1 week after my birthday, 2 days before his birthday, and a month before his sister's birthday. The last time I physically touched my son was June 21st, 2024, 12 noon, when I traveled to Jacksonville, Florida to give him his birthday gift. I asked the court to remember that Charles was a person whose life mattered. He was loved deeply, and his absence has devastated our family. Our family wishes for the court to understand the seriousness of the pain and loss caused by his death. Sincerely, Sandrika Mays.
All right, thank you. Sit down.
Thank you, sir.
Any additional witnesses at this time?
No, Your Honor, state of Florida will rest upon all evidence presented in the first phase.
Okay, very good. Ms. Finkelstein?
Thank you, Your Honor. The defense on behalf of John Patrick called Rule Benasco.
Smoke 'em. Smokey's Barbecue. Hey, originally me. Have a good day. G-Boy, thank you, brother. Just JoJo the reactor. JoJo the reactor. That was a letter from his mother. She was saying she wrote a letter to the court. Yo, you can look at the prosecution and tell what they gonna ask for, man. The lady in the middle already said she want them to die, man. She want them out of here.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this house will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Shit bad.
Very good. You may proceed.
Yeah, that's the end. Today is the end of ATK. They finna put a Rico on Young and Ace. They tell me,
Raul S.
they doing
Velasco,
hot. Yeah, all right,
What's your
nigga.
last name for our court reporter?
B-A-N-A-S Smith.
And how are you currently employed?
A variety of ways. I am a full-time jail administrator in Travis County Sheriff's Office in Austin, Texas, as well as an adjunct professor, and I do subject matter prison expert in jail security consulting work.
Can you please give our jury a summary of different facilities, jails, or prisons where you have worked?
I started my corrections profession in the state of Florida at the Central Florida Reception Center in Orlando, Florida as a corrections officer. Spent 7 years at that facility, moved up into the classification department as a classification officer, senior officer, and supervisor, in which I got promoted in 1995 to Polk Correctional Institution, Polk City, as a senior classification probation supervisor. Then went on to be the assistant warden at Martin Correctional Institution, maximum security facility in South Florida. And then after 3 years, got promoted to the assistant warden 2 level in Tomoka Correctional Institution, Daytona Beach for 5 years. Returned on a lateral to Central Florida Reception Center and got promoted to a warden at Hernando Correctional Center, Correctional Institution in Brooksville for women. And then shortly, about a year and a half, got promoted to headquarters to the Department of Corrections headquarters as Director of Staff Development. And actually going back, I was a corrections officer at Lake Correctional Institution as my first assignment in Orlando in '87. And then moved on to run jails for the next 20 years.
And what type of education do you have to get into that kind of career?
To get in that profession, to be a corrections officer, of course, you have to have a high school diploma. I have an undergraduate degree in psychology from Iona University, as well as have my certification as a public manager to the Florida Atlantic University Master's Program. Have my master's in public administration through Florida Atlantic University, and also have my credentials as a certified jail manager through the American Jail Association's Professional Commission, as well as my corrections executive certification through the American Correctional Institution Agency through Washington Professional Certification Commission as well.
How long have you been, even up till now, working in this field?
Over 41 years, or 4 decades.
And I know you discussed you're currently working a capacity in a facility in Texas, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And what is that?
I supervise over a jail population of 4,000 inmates and about 1,100 employees. It's the 5th largest jail in Texas.
When was the last time that you worked in corrections in Florida?
Okay, last time I worked in corrections in Florida was 2010 when I was separating myself from retiring in 2010.
That didn't work out too well, I think. It's still right.
Now, 25 years, and then 6 months later went back into the business.
I'm on road.
I guess this is the warden of the jail. I don't know what the fuck he finna say, but whatever he finna say.
Policies and procedures.
Yes, as a classification supervisor, particularly at the Central Florida Reception Center, which is Central Florida's hub, receiving almost 600 to 900 inmates a week from county jails and processing them out throughout the prison system, as well as my role as an assistant warden for 7 years and my wardenship and directorship. Very familiar. We all had to be familiar with warden assignments because we got moved when the agency needed you to be moved.
And Department of Corrections is a state-run program, right?
Correct. This is the third largest state prison system in existence.
So those DOC procedures will be pretty consistent from facility to facility.
Correct. They're pretty consistent. Maybe some SOPs might change a little bit on the design and the age of the prison, but they all pretty much operate the same.
And you indicated one of them, correct me if I'm wrong, was the warden of Hernando Correctional Institution. And was that with youthful and adult women?
Yes, I had a population of 350 youthful offenders from the age of 15 to 21, as well as the adult women population as well.
Why is there a separate prison for youthful offenders?
Every Sumter Correctional Institution is the one for men. In many cases, we have to sort of segregate the youthful offender population with the adults, particularly in that facility, those individuals that were in the youthful offender program. There are certain expectations. We have to provide them particular education programs when we have them necessary, as well as, keeping it standard for safety purposes, and we want to keep them separated because of their age and often because of their behavior. Between the age of 14 and 26, the behavior is sort of different in the prison setting compared to the adults.
That's going to be my question. So 14 to 26 is what the department considered a youthful offender?
Yes, in the industry, that population, even though they are sentenced to an adult prison, and I'm not a professional psychiatrist, but knowing the business, that's a very rambunctious. They're at a point in their life where they're still maturing. We tend to see that population have more disciplinary reports, more egregious behavior, more fighting that you have to deal with in that population versus the adult, that they're more settled and mature once they settle in.
And you also, as part of your career, you worked with as a juvenile case manager up in New York at some point, right?
Correct. I did 2 years with 2 contracts, one with Hawthorne Seed Knolls, which was mental health juveniles, as well as the other ones with juvenile group home children, my first employment in social services. Yes.
Based on your past work and experiences, are you, I think I already asked you, you're familiar with the policies and procedures of both jails and prisons, specifically in Florida?
Yes.
And how, since it has been some time since you physically worked in the building, how do you keep up to be able to educate us on the policies and procedures of the Department of Corrections?
Well, it's been a while, but actually, always a corrections officer at heart. In my current assignment, I walk the units and the compound on a weekly basis. Also, keeping up with the Department of Corrections, particularly, still have a lot of friends and family members who work in the agency. So keep up with that in that way, but also keep up with their annual reports, as well as some of the changes that the agency goes through, as I'm familiar with a lot of the current leadership in different capacities, because I came up with them, but keep up abreast with all the current changes going on that they have to publish as well on the agency website.
So in a little bit, I'm going to ask you about some specifics regarding life without parole and death row inmates in Florida. So are you able to give the jury that information based on what you just described as far as how you keep up with those policies and procedures?
Yes, I am.
And before we get to that, so you're working now, other than what you described in Texas, but you're testifying here today. Is that more in a consultant capacity?
Yes, it is.
What does that mean?
Consultant means not in my work capacity is my role now. Take actual time off to with consulting. We tend to always do this kind of work for retirement purposes. And I take on cases, either resentencing cases, penalty phase cases, even some civil cases where there's some wrongful death involved, either for the agency's defense or for the actual plaintiff as well.
And I assume you're not doing that work for free. Can you tell us how much you charge per hour?
No, my fees are $200 an hour to interview, review records, as well as $225 an hour to testify, and $110 to travel time as well.
And that all gets approved when we get you onto a case?
Correct. Everyone that I work with, regardless it's private or government, there's an agreement and that the hours are authorized in advance.
And have you previously testified in court before in that capacity?
Yes, I am.
And do you know approximately how many times?
Oh.
Sorry. As a consultant?
As a consultant, over 55, 60 cases.
And was that in state and federal court?
State and federal, as well as county as well.
And was that just in Florida or anywhere else?
No, I've done work in South Carolina, state of Georgia, Texas, Florida, of course, even though some work in Louisiana as well.
And have you always been allowed by those courts to give an expert opinion in the area of corrections policy, practices, and conditions?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, I would ask that the court allow what Mr. Bonosco to give his opinion testimony in the areas of corrections policy, practices, and conditions. Thank you, Your Honor. Have you ever consulted on cases for the prosecution or state attorney's office?
No.
Okay, now I'm going to get into some specifics. We talked about the difference between a life without parole sentence and what a death row inmate. Let's start with life without parole. Throughout your lengthy career in corrections, have you become familiar with how inmates serving a life without parole sentence are housed in the Department of Corrections?
Yes, I have.
Okay, and can you tell us physically how they are housed?
Well, all my assignments in the Florida prison system were all at Lifer facilities, so I'm very familiar with that layout. What happens is an individual who is sentenced to the Department of Corrections, particularly like in this case with Ms. Garthright, he will go through a reception center process. He will be given an inmate number. That inmate number will remain with him for the remainder of his sentence while in the prison system. They will then be transferred after 6 to 12 weeks, in which they go through a reception process. They have to see all components, medical, mental health, social services, and classification, and we assess their custody level, and then we will assign them to vacant beds throughout the prison system. When that individual were to be received at a facility, let's say Tomoka Correction Institution, which is a lifer facility, holds all custody levels to close, that individual will be classified and assessed based on their skill set, their behavior, their prior behavior, whether it's in the county jail or in another system, in another agency, and then determine their housing assignment, determine their job assignment, in which every inmate that is serving a term of life will always have to be assigned a job assignment. So what that means is every inmate serving a life sentence is required to work up to 60 hours a week, whether it's cooking meals, preparing laundry, pushing about 100 lawnmowers, gasless of course, keeping up with the day-to-day maintenance of that prison. That is a requirement, as well as following all the other rules or regulations as required by the agency.
So part of the classification, and I know probably just out of habit, you said we, you obviously aren't working there anymore. The department will find a facility where Mr. Gathright would be the most useful and fit in the best?
Yes.
And also have their programs and things you mentioned, right?
Yes, they have programs.
Can you explain what a typical day in the life of an inmate serving life without parole would look like, since they are required to work? What else does a day look like?
A typical life for an individual inmate serving in the Department of Corrections is they're woken up at 4 o'clock in the morning. We do a secure count. At that time, we will escort them to their appropriate chow hall, which is where they eat their meal. They have up to 10 minutes to sit and eat their meal. They will return back to their housing unit, in which we will conduct another count, and then we will allow them to go to the day-to-day operations. So inmates have work.
On a vacation rental, if it's not listed on Booking.com, it's invisible to millions of travelers.
Yeah, boy, it is not looking good for these young men. Please make sure y'all smash the like button. What y'all thinking? What y'all think? Y'all think they gonna beat the? Well, you ain't beating shit. Y'all think they gonna give them life, or y'all think they going to give them the death penalty?
To make sure everyone's accounted for, then they return back to their housing unit, and after dark, they are all secured in secured housing, and no inmates are allowed to be out of those buildings unless it's an emergency with proper security, shackles, and handcuffs to whatever assignment they have to go. Otherwise, they remain in those housing units till the next day, which it is repeated again.
So they're not just roaming around the prison all day?
Absolutely not. They're told what to do, when to do it.
I didn't hear you mention a shower. Do they get to shower?
They get to shower. We are required by accreditation standards to give them a minimum of 3 showers a week, but because those individuals are in an environment where they don't have their own showers, it's based on who the population is, usually about 250 inmates for like 7 to 10 showers. So they're sharing spaces.
And I don't know if you might have mentioned this, but the housing itself, are they in a dorm style, or what does their personal housing look like?
Their personal housing is, Department of Corrections, we know it as HO5 and HO4 housing. That's the housing assignment we give individuals who are serving a life sentence. And HO5 is an individual cell that's designed with 2 men in it. That's more the old prison style. Like I worked at Tomoka Correctional Center, old prisons because of the design at the time. Because we've had individuals serving life, we also code them, the Department of Corrections codes them as HO4.
Lifers.
HO4 is the same type of secure housing, but these individuals are more in a communal,
what up, Lamar?
almost like a military style. The integrity of the building is still designed to hold lifers, but because a lot of the old prisons, the footprint is very antiquated and very manpower intensive, we have other type of industry standard housing so that they are in an HO4 status.
If someone is sentenced to life without parole, meaning they're not getting out, is there any incentive for them to follow the rules while they're in prison?
Well, every inmate in the Department of Corrections is required to work. And if they do not show up to work, even those who are medically indigent, they're required to work. They will face administrative outcomes, basically receive a disciplinary report for refusing to work. And if that continues to escalate, we move them into another level of status based on the classification and their negative adjustment in the prison setting.
And what would be their incentives to follow the rules other than just where they're housed? Do they get any benefit for following the rules?
They would have their privileges not revoked. Privileges such as family visits, commissary, inmate tablets, access to TV, those even access to programs. Those are the privileges in which they have to follow the rules in order to keep them.
And so you indicated that they are required, those inmates will be required to work 60 hours a week, and even if they're disabled. Is it safe to say that prison can be made even more comfortable for a person, or uncomfortable, sorry, if they refuse to work or they're not following rules?
Yes, in the system, it's designed, if they continue to refuse to show up to work or their assigned area, they will get disciplinary reports. As they continue to escalate those disciplinary reports, then they will be considered for close management. And what close management status is, those individual inmates in the prison system that are not following the rules, they become a security concern, not only for the other inmates, but the day-to-day operations, at which time the institutional classification team.
I'm like, why is he talking up and trying to get them to let them stay in jail? Oh, because the jail gonna make money. So he trying to make him some money off them for the rest of their lives.
We'll review them, place them on a docket, as they say, to be reviewed by central office, and move to a facility such as Santa Rosa Correctional Institution, Martin Correctional Institution, Columbia, to name a few, in which they house close management 1, 2, and 3 statuses. These individuals, for the most part, are locked in a single cell by themselves. They don't have any privileges, just to see medical every day, as well as their meals, and not even but twice a week get uniform and allowed out of their cell 3 times a week. They will remain in that status till they start complying with the rules and regulations, in which they will eventually, hopefully, move out of that status if they start conforming to the rules.
And you gave some examples earlier. I just wanted to follow up some of the things that inmates do in the way of work at the prison. You included cooking, is that right?
Yes, we have to prepare 3 meals as well as even dietary meals for the inmate population. So we use a lot of the inmate labor to do all the meal preparation, as well as keeping up with sanitary requirements. We have to launder all the food as well. We have also inmates. The department has to assign inmates who have skills in maintenance because the Department of Corrections utilizes 80% of the inmate labor to keep up with the aging facilities that the prison system has. That's something on a national level. We put them to work. They do not have any kind of financial compensation they're required to. We also keep up the grounds as well as utilize them in different capacities. Those who might have a high school diploma might be part of the orientation for the new inmates coming into the prison system, sort of like a peer-to-peer, helping those, particularly those coming in with a term of years, to hopefully take advantage of the programs and not return back to the prison system.
You mentioned yard work. Do they do painting, electrical work, things like that based on their skill set?
They do plumbing, painting, electrical,
They don't give a fuck about them becoming an artist, nigga. They want to kill them.
So they're not freely having any access to tools. They are always supervised. Because of a prison design, things do break down at night. So sometimes, depending on the skill set, staff is dispatched, or even the corrections officers have to supervise them to keep up with these repairs. Wastewater treatment programs, some of the prisons in the Department of Corrections, I know personally, have been assigned in places where we don't have direct water access, so we have our own water and treatment programs, so we have to keep up with that as well.
You indicated that the inmates themselves don't make any money or commissary off of that work. Is that right?
No.
Would you say that they save the Department of Corrections in the state of Florida money?
Yes, they do.
Because you indicated, I think, what, 80% of the work done is done by inmates?
Yes, I mean, keeping in mind, we're talking almost 80 prisons throughout the state of Florida, the aging buildings at that.
That's right. They making them slaves.
By challenging and financially a challenge to the agency to keep up with all the repairs.
Slave to the rhythm.
That they can contribute outside the prison? Is there any work? I know this may be like way old school. You see inmates making like license plates. I don't do that anymore, but
you was damn right.
People outside of the prison?
Actually, they still do license plates.
Oh, they do?
Yeah. In my year.
You a slave to the situation for life, buddy. Life or on death row. I say life so they can think about what they did.
And still to this day, we have different events. So actually, we use inmate laborers who might have some carpentry skills. They actually do a big thing every year in different agencies throughout the United States for Toys for Tots. We also use them to create the inmate uniforms, their inmate boots. We keep up also refurbishing of vehicles. When I worked at the women's facility, the women there did the eye contacts and the dentures for the prison system. So we utilize them to work through our partnership through PRIDE, the Prison Rehabilitative and Industrial Enterprise company that is a partnership. We put them to work with this particular partner to keep us sustained and also cost saving. They also do the furniture at Full Correctional Institution. For those agencies that want to buy furniture, there's a furniture factory there as well.
Slaving them. Damn.
Prison Rehabilitative Industrial Diversified Enterprise?
Yes.
That's a mouthful.
It's a lot.
So an inmate sentenced to life without parole, would you agree, is a resource for inside the prison as well as society in some cases?
Yes.
If you've got a crack spreading across your windshield, you need to see the...
If you got a crack spreading across your windshield.
You talked about visitation and some incentives for following the rules. But are inmates in prison allowed to communicate with people on the outside, and if so, how?
Yes, they are allowed. There's the new industry standard. Typically, they can call on phones, in which they can call out, but also we have tablets. It's the new industry standard. Inmates are assigned a tablet in which they can either do videoization in some facilities and even text in a secure server to communicate with their family members as well.
And I assume that's all monitored by the department?
Completely, yes.
And is it free to the inmate?
No.
The tablet's free, but the communications aren't, is that right?
Correct. There's a fee for the text as well as any kind of communication with outside folks.
Now I want to move on to talk to you a little bit about if someone's serving or they're sentenced to death and they become a death row inmate in Florida. How is an inmate on death row housed physically?
Physically, when you're housed in a death row environment, particularly at UNCI. Go there often. They're housed in a 6x9 cell, single person housing with a mattress, their assigned TV, stainless steel sink and toilet, as well as our provided services. They also, 3 years ago, changed the process in which now inmates on death row also are allowed and issued a tablet, as well as they're allowed a lot more time out of their cells as historically, and also have family visits. Their food is delivered to them and their uniforms are delivered to them, but they're not required to work.
Let me just take those a little bit one at a time. So you said the TV, do they have their own TV?
Yes.
What about the inmates that are serving life without parole? Do they get their own TV?
No, each side of the dorm or each pod or quad is, depending what you call it, the department has to share a TV in that environment. So there's often fights and stuff, but they basically, amongst the prison population, have to determine what channel of the limited channels they can see.
And do they go to the chow hall to eat, or you said they get the food delivered to them?
Their 3 meals are delivered to them on the road.
Do they do their own laundry?
No.
So somebody else, the inmates that are working, do their laundry and bring it to them?
The inmate laundry is done by the inmate laundry trustees, as we often call them, and they will be delivered on a weekly schedule, exchange their uniforms.
And I believe you said that they are not required to work. Are they able to work?
They're able to work, but they're not required to work.
Do inmates sentenced to death contribute to the prison workforce in any way?
No.
So let me turn your attention to Mr. Gathright. Sean Gathright, did you have an opportunity to meet with him?
Yes, I did.
Okay, do you recall when that was? We can look at your notes if you need to.
March 1st, 2026, at the Hillsborough County Jail.
What was his demeanor, just generally, when you met with him?
Very pleasant, a young individual who was very articulate. We spoke, and very respectful. Had a good meeting with him.
And I assume you know that he's relatively young, like 20 years old right now.
Yes, he was booked at the age 18. He's 20 now.
Did you learn through records provided by my office that Mr. Gathright was a high school graduate?
Niggas don't fuck their lives up.
Let me ask you a little
20
bit about
years
that.
old.
You mentioned earlier in your direct about somebody with an education. Certain inmates can maybe be kind of mentors or peer-to-peer. I think you described it. Working with inmates that are serving a term of years, meaning they are getting out of prison. Do you think that Mr. Gathright would have that ability if he were serving a life without parole sentence?
He would have that ability. Of course, classification would have to look at his behavior, but the fact that he does have a high school diploma, that is one of the requirements to be an inmate student aid, because they're helping other individual prisoners obtain some kind of education programming, so they have to have a high school diploma. So he does have the credentials to be considered for that type of work assignment.
And as you said, when it gets to classification, somebody there will make all these determinations once they evaluate him physically, mentally, behaviorally, all of that stuff, right?
That's correct.
And based on your previous work as a classification officer, you feel comfortable saying that he could potentially be in that role?
Based on my experience and 4 decades, someone who I met and got the opportunity to speak to, and his current housing assignment, he has the potential to be considered for an assignment like that once in the prison system, but that would be over a period of time. Every inmate who's brought into a permanent prison will have to go through a period of observation, and usually they start on inside grounds for the first 3 to 6 months, and depending how well they do out in the heat and behave and follow the rules, then they can be considered for other positions which have more responsibilities or level of trust, but always supervised by staff.
In the Department of Corrections, are there also what you consider faith and character facilities?
Yes, that is a new industry standard in the last 5 to 7 years. The Department of Corrections has quite a few of those that are spread out throughout the state.
And what do they offer to an inmate serving? Well, I assume they don't include death row inmates.
Your shit for the rest of their life. They can no longer sit in prison, sit in the shit in their own smelly shit.
But you have to show a 2-year record of following the rules, no disciplinary reports, no kind of security concerns, just to be considered as an application process in which they will have to go through, because these facilities, they're also known as incentivized prisons. So they only want those inmates who are respectful, following the rules, and not going to be a security concern.
And based on Mr. Gathwright's age, physical abilities, things like that, do you think that the prison would benefit from him in a work capacity if he were sentenced to life without parole?
I'd say yes, with my experience, not only just in classification, but as former warden and even as a jail administrator. He's someone that's young, he's healthy. In reality, we need that labor, we need that sweat equity, and we will put him out there to work because we do have an aging prison population, jail administration. We have that, so we put these young individuals to work.
Yo, I wish y'all could see this shit. It's a guard back here. He listening to this shit like, what? They do what? Yeah, nigga, you work for a slave organization, right? It's slaving these young black men. Right.
And get some sweat equity out of them since they are young and actually can do the work.
And we talk about life without parole and death row, but for jurors' education, in Florida, what does a life sentence without parole mean?
A life sentence in the Florida Department of Corrections means from the minute they're brought in, they're assigned an inmate number. He will be assigned an inmate number, and when he dies and leaves in a body bag, he will still have that inmate number. An inmate serving life will never ever get out. There is no parole in the state of Florida, and they're not ever allowed outside the razor wire and the fence of a secure facility.
So the only way that an inmate serving life without parole would leave is when they die by natural causes.
But it's true.
Yes. Okay.
Good afternoon, sir.
Mr. Granasco, you throughout your testimony have been using the term "we" when you're talking about the DOC. You keep doing it. You're no longer employed by the Florida Department of Corrections, correct?
That is correct.
All right. And you separated from a corrections job here in Florida in 2010, but that was
Don't worry, Shaq. The general gives you a break to keep you covered.
So the guy talking all this shit don't even work for the jail. So who paid him to say what he's saying?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
20 years ago, right?
Yes.
All right, so it's been 20 years ago since you have worked as an employee of the Florida Department of Corrections.
That is correct. Yes.
Since you have stepped foot into a correctional institution in this state as an employee, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you've talked about you have previously testified as a consultant, and I believe counsel asked about your expert opinion in corrections or in security, corrections security?
Corrections, security operations, anything to deal with corrections, detention, prisons, and jails.
His master,
55 times
right?
that you've testified. That
Just
is
said we'll be
testifying
slaving your
in
butt
several
off,
cases,
right?
Yeah, a handful, yes, sir.
Testifying
He said, just say we'll be slaving your butt off, correct?
in a jail or in the prisons.
Yes.
That's included testimony in non-capital criminal cases.
That's correct.
When did you start testifying in criminal cases?
In criminal cases?
Yeah.
Oh, it's been over 10 years.
Over 10 years. Mm-hmm. All right. And you didn't start testifying in cases like this, penalty phase of a capital murder case. You didn't start doing this until about 5 years ago, right?
Approximately 5 years ago, yes.
So how many times have you come into court in a penalty phase setting like this and testified?
Over 40 times.
In a penalty phase?
In a penalty case, about 20 cases.
Over the last 5 years?
Yes.
See? Fact
You were
way up
asked
to something.
about the typical day in the life of a person who has been sentenced to life without parole here in the state of Florida, right?
Yes.
In the prisons, correct?
Yes.
And you would agree that when the person is sentenced and they're transported, they go to a receiving facility, correct?
From the county jail?
Yes.
Yes, they go to a reception center.
A reception center. And then, I don't know, are they classified there or do they go to some other facility where they go through classification?
No, every prisoner goes to the reception center and they will classify them and assign them to a permanent prison.
To a permanent prison, right. And that's done by a classification specialist of some type?
Yes. Classification officer along with their classification supervisor.
And once they get into a prison, when they're assigned to their prison, they will be observed and they will be watched and monitored and documented, as you said, as they go through their day-to-day activities, correct?
Yes.
Over the course of the time that they're in that facility, right?
Yes.
And at about 6 months approximately, they're going to be reevaluated, right?
Right, anywhere from 3 to 6 months. Now, of course, to clarify, if they're not adjusting well, they will be reassessed.
Right. But they're, okay, that's true. Okay, if they commit some offense or they violate some major rule or they start accumulating DRs, disciplinary reports, that may accelerate that classification or reevaluation. Is that right?
Yes.
But at some point, even if they live spotlessly clean, follow all the rules, they are a wonderful inmate, they do everything right, they're going to be reclassified at some point within a year.
Well, particularly in this case, when you're serving a life sentence, at a minimum, you have to have an annual review. So basically, they have a reassessment annually just to make sure they're keeping up with their behavior and touching base with any needs as a case manager with it.
Right, and I misspoke. They're not necessarily going to be reclassified, but they're going to be reassessed, reevaluated.
Yes.
And that's done by a classification team or a specialist in that facility?
Right. The classification officer will review them, and then the paperwork goes to the institutional classification team.
So if a person is sentenced to life without parole for a capital murder, like in this case, same kind of charges we have in this case, and they go up to the reception center, they're normally going to be sent to a facility, a correctional institute, and they're going to be at a fairly high level of security level, right?
Every inmate serving life will be nothing less than close custody.
Close custody, right. And once they've been there for 6 months, 8 months, whatever it takes, if they're following the rules and they're doing what they're supposed to do, they're not accumulating, DRs are going to be reevaluated, right?
Correct.
And there may be modifications to their job assignments, correct?
Correct, based on institutional needs.
Institutional needs, right. And you said that most likely if someone is sentenced to life, the first thing they're going to be doing is probably pushing a mower outside, working outdoors, doing some kind of manual labor, right?
Correct. Inside grounds is the go-to assignment. It's in the heat, and that's where we need the most labor to get things done.
And a lot of these facilities, even the ones in North Florida in the summer, they get pretty hot, don't they?
Every one of them.
So they're going to be out there in the heat getting pressure tested as far as their ability to maintain what they're supposed to be doing their jobs, doing it right, being disciplined enough to follow regulations, right? And rules.
Nah. They going to say hi to Julio, foolio, a couple of them niggas.
Over time.
Watch.
Right? I was trying to find the term you used. A period of observation, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Now, you work in Texas, is that correct, sir?
Yes, I do.
In Austin, right?
Yes.
What county is that? Tarrant County?
So that's Travis County.
Travis County. You did work in Tarrant County.
Tarrant County, Fort Worth, yes.
Fort Worth. And you also worked in San Antonio.
Yes.
Is that right? And you worked in St. Louis for the jails up there, correct?
For 10 months.
You worked in Osceola County?
Osceola Jail Commander and Orange County Corrections.
Orange County Corrections. You've had a lot of corrections jobs where you've worked.
Retired.
That's when you retired out.
Retired.
2010.
Had to deal with the unfortunate escape of fire folks, and my mother was in hospice. And then actually, just to clarify, I then went on to work with Bridges of America for 2 years, which is a reentry program that contracts Department of Corrections for 2 years. And then I was tapped on to be the jail administrator in Bexar County for almost 4 years. And individuals like myself, we serve at the will. So the elected official sheriff was not reelected. So the administration that's appointed has to find another opportunity in which the sheriff in Tarrant County asked me to be the jail administrator.
I thought you said Bexar County. You said
Bexar.
Bexar County.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And those are in Texas.
That's in San Antonio, yes.
San Antonio. And Tarrant County is which?
Fort Worth.
Fort Worth. All right. But you work in Austin, but you live in Tallahassee, correct?
Correct. I commute every few weeks.
My
home is in Tallahassee.
Have you done that through all your jobs in Texas?
Yes.
Kept your residence here in
Well, yeah, because my wife and family reside on and off in Florida, so I did it when I went to St. Louis, did 10 months, but my family did relocate to that assignment.
So you were in St. Louis for 10 months, for less than a year?
Tough assignment. That's all I wanted to do was 10 months in St. Louis.
And in addition to doing that, as you told counsel when she first asked what you do, you started consulting, right?
I've been consulting since 2000. I'm a national American Correctional Association national and international auditor. I've done over 300 prison and jail inspections in state.
I'm sorry.
Man, I wonder who hired him to come and talk shit the way he's talking shit. Because the way the man's saying, like, why are you even here? You work in Texas, nigga. Why are you worried about what's going on here? Good question, right?
Legal side of
it. So getting back to what we were talking about, when you worked in the DOC, you either trained on or you supervised the people who were doing these classifications, correct?
Yes.
The teams, the classification specialists or coordinators.
All that.
Fair to say that? Yep.
Yep.
Okay. And like we were talking about earlier, they're reviewing, and you correct me if I'm wrong, the security level for that person? Or
correct.
Custody level?
Yeah, what happens is we review, first of all, the term that they're sent to the prison system will determine their custody in many cases. So someone who serves life, you will always be close custody. That's just so the system is designed that way. Depending on other inmates coming in the system, if they have a term of years, they also look at that. If their charges mitigate, all those things to determine their custody level.
And a lot of it, or most of it, is based on their adjustment, right? How they're adjusting.
Their adjustment, as well as their prison sentence, as well as their prison sentence.
But I mean, they're continuing, when you're reassessing a person's status and how they're going to live in the custody or in that institution, they're looking at how they're adjusting to prison life over time, right?
Yes.
And they're looking for a continuous positive behavior on the part of the inmate, correct?
Correct. Starting from the reception center, because when they come in 6 to 12 weeks, they might not get to their permanent camp, so they're assigned a job even at a reception center. If you're there more than 10 weeks, you have to get a job assignment. So they actually start now assessing them at the reception center, pending going to their permanent facility.
So this could be, just to phrase it another way, they're looking at the sentence, they're looking at the history, but they're also looking at things like, do they have a high school degree, right?
Yeah, they look at their education, they verify that through their database to make sure they have any kind of education. They also gather their skills, any kind of employment, because when we get weekly allocations, you're correct myself, the Department of Corrections gets weekly allocations. It's like a factory line. On Mondays, they get an allocation list. We're flushing out 590 prisoners out of the system, but one facility needs 50 cooks. Another one might need 12 plumbers. No matter.
So a lot of it's need based, from what you're
Yes.
saying. Okay.
Yes.
You spent, in this case with Mr. Gathright, an hour and a half with him, correct?
Yes.
And you've told us some of your impressions here a few minutes ago.
That
Yes.
shit don't matter.
Let me just go through that with you. You found out at some point that he has a high school degree, correct?
Yes.
You found out that he had prior, I guess, worked in the catering industry, may have culinary skills, or
Yes.
some level of culinary
He
skills.
worked at Oxford Country Club as a prep cook. He did some other work. During my interview, he did work in the hospitality industry
At a country club.
Country Club in Oxford, Mississippi, I think it was. Yes.
None of that shit matters.
You found him to be very articulate, correct?
Correct.
He was very cooperative with you, is that correct?
Yes.
He graduated from Oxford High School in Mississippi, correct?
These
Yes.
niggas respectful when they get in front of authority, but on the streets, these the most disrespectful little motherfuckers out here.
In 2023, I think. Yes.
You also worked for the Omni Hotel, is that right? In catering?
He didn't mention that. He did tell me he worked for Oxford Country Club, well, also a sushi place and Central Plate Catering Service, unless that was a contract with the hotel, which some of them do. Not familiar.
If you had said at a time in the past that he did work for the Omni Hotel, would it refresh your memory if I showed you that?
Sure.
Can I approach the witness, Sean?
Yes.
And it's page 23.
Watch, she gonna say he got fired for a fucked up reason. Watch. Watch.
I did mention Omni, but in my notes, as you see,
You think that the Omni that you came up with may have been something someone told you, maybe, even if it's not in your notes, since you testified to
no,
it?
I didn't even say it in the hotel, but I don't know where that one came from. I'm trying to look at my notes. No, Central Plate Catering. I don't recall.
So he had experience working in catering,
And serving, prep cook.
Do you remember telling me in your deposition that I took of you that you were impressed by him?
Yes.
And you found him to be a very mature person, a very mature young man.
Someone 20, yes, he came across very mature.
Now, when you worked for the Department of Corrections, you worked for a lot of institutions, a lot of correctional institutions, correct?
Yes.
And when I say worked for, all of that's the Department of Corrections.
Yes.
Statewide agency, right?
Yes.
It maintains our prison system. Is that correct? All right.
Yes.
So I think you said you worked at Tomoka, you worked at Martin. You mentioned Santa Rosa. You didn't work at Santa Rosa.
I worked at Polk CI.
Polk
Correction
CI.
Suit.
Okay. Union Correctional and Florida State Prison, both located in Rayford or right there by Rayford? Familiar with them?
Yes,
All right. You were never permanently assigned to either one of those, correct?
No.
You visited them as part of your job. You went there for training, I believe. You may have been there for other reasons, but you were never permanently assigned here.
Never permanently assigned.
Never permanently assigned to Death Row, correct?
Correct.
And when you worked there, when you left in 06, Death Row was housed, for men, was housed at Union, correct, in Rayford?
Yes.
And literally almost down the road at Florida State Prison, which is a prison that's actually called Florida State Prison, correct?
FSP.
Right, FSP. Now, Death Row is housed exclusively at Union Correctional, correct?
Yes.
You have not viewed the inside area of Death Row or had access to that in over 20 years, correct?
Correct.
Death row conditions, would you agree with me that that is maximum solitary close custody?
It is maximum security, close custody. I don't know if the word solitary, that's a word we don't use in the industry anymore because.
Right. Well, the common meaning solitary, meaning that they are housed individually in their own cells, right?
Yes.
You indicated earlier the cells are 6 feet by 9 feet, correct?
Approximately, yes.
All right. And in death row, there are 6 wings, each with 2 levels.
I'm bored. I'm not even gonna hold you. I'm bored as fuck watching this shit. I'm gonna come back later. I'm gonna find out what the fuck they did with these niggas, because I'm sure it's not gonna be shit good, right? I'm gonna find out, and I'll probably get back with y'all on a later day, because I'm bored. I don't want to watch it no more. I already know what the outcome was gonna be. They got this fat nigga up here trying to make them into his personal slaves. He want them to come into the system and work for him for the rest of their lives, knowing that they ain't gonna never let these niggas go in Broward. Y'all might as well just take the death penalty, keep the shit pushing. You did what you did. They saying you did what you did. Devon, he seemed like he did it. Rashad seemed like they did it, especially what happened to they people at that baseball game. And the guy who testified for Julio Foolio, the black guy, he the nigga that they was trying to kill the whole time. They probably wasn't even there for Julio Foolio that night. They was after his coat, the nigga who testified yesterday or whatever it was he testified, right? They was after that nigga. He know they was after him. He the one who killed Davon and Rashad Murphy's little people. Their mother was on news bugging the fuck out. He know that they wasn't, listen, they probably was mad at Julio Foolio for singing about it, rapping about it. But Julio wasn't the one who killed the Murphy's people. His homeboy who testified did. So, nigga, you know that you had to get up there and testify, because if you didn't, the Murphys gonna kill you anyway. They gonna kill you in prison, wherever the fuck they see you, they want you. Now, Julio on the other hand, done got caught up in this nigga dumb shit, done got his life taken, rapping about this nigga. To myself, now you're smoking 23. And the little light-skinned girl and her boyfriend was there to kill you for 23. So they wanted Julio. The Murphy brothers wanted his co-defendant to testify. That's why they all clicked up. The Murphys was after that boy that was in the passenger seat who got shot. They wanted him dead. See, they felt their mission. But that nigga, that brown-skinned nigga that was with the little light-skinned girl, he the only one succeeded on his mission. That's why he's up there. He don't give no fucks in the world. He don't care what they talking about doing to him. He's not concerned. I killed the nigga. That's so what? That's what I wanted. He killed my homeboy. I killed him. Rest in peace to 23. Rest in peace to Young and Ace brothers. But all these people that was losing their family, Young and Ace, the Murphy brothers, what was this other little boy name down here? Isaiah Chance. Isaiah, I don't know why the fuck Sean Gaffright even got involved in this shit. I don't know what personally he had against them, but I know that Isaiah Chance was mad about what happened to 23, and Davon and Rashad Murphy, they wanted to kill the nigga that was with Julio Foolio. You get it? That's why they asked, where's he at? But he got up there and testified. They was like, oh, he's a rat. Nigga, they trying to take my life. Fuck that. What the fuck do I got to lose? These niggas was relentless trying to kill me that night. Why you think that they would shoot at the passenger side? Because they knew that boy was sitting back there too. He got hit too. But they took Julio life because the guy, which is Isaiah Chance shot Julio. And Davon, and this is just me speaking out loud. Davon and Rashad Murphy shot and killed motherfucking Julio. I mean, the other little boy they was trying to kill. He know what time it was. He act like he ain't know the whole time. But he testified. I'll do a video later and show y'all him testify. And I'm gonna show y'all why the fuck he testified. Because if he wouldn't have testified, they was gonna kill him anyway. They've been trying to kill him since he killed their people at the baseball game. Go look it up. I just seen fucking what's his face? The white boy, 1090 Jake. 1090 Jake just did a video. I'm gonna do a reaction video on 1090 Jake video talking about the Murphy's brother people where he got killed at the game. I'm gonna do that in a few minutes. I gotta go get me some cigars and try to find somebody who's gonna give me some cuckoo, and I'll be back. Hey, what's up, Lamar Skate? Salute. You already know. You make it make sense, guys. You on to the truth. Oh, trust me, I've been on this case for a minute. I just wasn't saying that. I wanted to wait till the good part gets started. Devon and Rashad Murphy, they was mad about they people that died at I think it was a baseball game. It may have been a baseball game he died at. They been trying to kill. It wasn't even Julio they was trying to kill. They was trying to kill his man. His man is the one went to jail for this shit. And now the nigga up there testifying, he finna get out because now he got you two dummies convicted. Now he finna get out and you niggas going in. Mm, mm, mm. That is some treacherous shit. But hey man, when you're a criminal, this is how you roll. You don't give a fuck about sending the next nigga to jail. Fuck you. You said time and time again, don't play with Florida. Oh, trust me. I'm gonna tell you like this shit. We just witnessed what Florida's about, right? Let's wait to see what Melly finna get. They're going to flip, fly, and fucking burn Melly to the head, to them little bitty dreads he just done started fall off his head. You're gonna die, Melly, fucking with Bravo. Just me, I'm not saying that I want you to. My heart goes out to your family. Not really, because your mother is a whore. But I mean, it is what it is. Fuck the bitch. I don't give a fuck. The bitch is a hoe. That is just how I heard your reputation, Jamie. And I ain't even being funny. If I ever come across you, Jamie, I want some pussy. I heard your shit is snapping bapping. I heard that head is sick. So I'm not even gonna play with y'all. I don't give no fucks about saying the truth. The truth is the truth. I heard Jamie out there giving that pussy up, boy, and I heard it is worth it. I heard she get it in. She had made some niggas kill fucking Juvie and sack chasing. Sucked them niggas off. Them niggas went right there and killed them for him. Ain't that a bitch? I ain't even trying to sneeze wrong when I go to Florida. Please don't. Please don't. Because them motherfuckers down there will make you out of an example. I'll be back on in a few minutes, y'all, because I'm going to let y'all know we're going to talk about what happened to these young men. Because I can guarantee it will not be nothing nice. I'm locking up the office. And I'm going, y'all. Peace.